Welcome to the Yolo County District Attorney podcast series, The Chronicles of Justice. Today we will be discussing our Child Abduction Unit and their role in our office. This unit always puts the best interest of the child first when custody difficulties arise. My name is Wendy Wilcox and I will be facilitating today's podcast. Joining me are Deputy District Attorney Tiffany Susz and Enforcement Officer Angela Smith, who are both assigned to that unit. In this unique podcast, Tiffany and I will be speaking by phone with Stephanie, a mother from Canada who sought help from our Child Abduction Unit after the father of her children absconded with them and moved around to many international jurisdictions for over 4 years. We will now join Stephanie via cell phone. Stephanie, can you please explain what brought you to our Child Abduction Unit?
I hadn't had my kids in my physical proximity for about 5 years when I found out that 4 or 5 years that they were in California, and a lawyer in Canada told me to go down and see if I could do something in the courts there. So that's what I did, and I talked to a lawyer, and the lawyer told me to contact the unit, which I did, and that's how I got hold of them.
Okay. Tell us about what the unit did for you to help you in your endeavor.
They initiated the first contact with the children after I had a court order that allowed me to see the children, and then they kind of navigated the rough waters for me, taking the heat, diffusing the situations when needed. Mm-hmm. And they were just generally a great support.
Okay. What was your relationship like with our staff there?
To say that everybody at the unit is just amazing. They do a fantastic job. They are really supportive. They listen. Often you just kind of end up with people who just nod and say yes, but they don't really listen, whereas I have to say everybody in that unit is really amazing.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate that.
What was the difficulty with you being able to see the children, that there was such a long time between the last time you saw them and then from when you came to Yolo County?
International custody is never easy. And it was really a gray zone, the hot potato. Nobody wanted to kind of take it over. It was also difficult because the children were never in one spot long enough to really basically claim jurisdiction, or then I didn't really know where they were. I had a rough idea, but I didn't have like a physical location for quite a while. And then finances.
And when you had determined that they were in Yolo County, was that an opportunity that you saw at that point that you could hopefully get into court to have the court look at the custody issues?
It was a situation where I was like, it's not going to get any better. It's not going to get any closer than that. I have friends in Yolo County, so I knew that I could, rely on some support there. And basically, it really came down to I had nothing left to lose. I had tried pretty much everything, and this was my last chance, basically.
Were you reunited with your children in Yolo County?
I was, yes.
How long had it been that you had physically seen them before you were reunited with them?
About 4 years.
And explain to us how your heart felt when you saw them for the first time.
It was a weird moment. In a way, it wasn't like, oh my God, my heart stopped because I had seen them on Skype, so I kind of knew what they looked like. But then once, they were kind of hugging me, and they were hugging me like no time had elapsed, that was when, I got very emotional.
I can only imagine. Do you have any words that you would like to say for any other folks that are going through the same scenario?
Never give up. you're gonna, hit your walls all the time. I mean, there's so many places that you're gonna go to and that you're gonna try, and you're gonna hear no, 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 we can't do anything for you. I hear you, I feel your pain, but I can't do anything for you. Or, finances become an issue. But you got to keep going, because eventually you will find that one person or that organization or whatever it is, the angle that you need to get traction.
It sounds like our child abduction unit was that traction for you.
It was. Them combined with my lawyer, I would not have been able to do it without them.
That's great. Okay, and so how are the kids doing today?
They are turning into real preteens, especially my daughter. Certainly adapting just perfectly to the North American lifestyle. Enjoying being here, enjoying being in school, having a fantastic social life. They're doing really well.
That's great to hear. Okay, well, Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
You're very welcome.
Is there anything else you guys want to say to Stephanie before we go?
Well, that we'll be in touch, Stephanie, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It was, really rewarding for us, for those of us that do this job, to help you reunify with your children.
Thank you. You guys will always have a special place in our hearts.
Oh, well, thank you. You guys too. We keep the photos up that you send us of the kids in our office as a reminder of why we do what we do.
That's great. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take good care, Stephanie. Thank you so much. So now we're going to speak with Tiffany Susz, the Deputy District Attorney assigned to the Child Abduction Unit. Tiffany, tell us, why does the Child Abduction Unit exist in the District Attorney's office?
There's a family code section in the state of California that states that the District Attorney's office shall assist the family courts with locating and recovering abducted children. Years ago, in the early 90s, our office created the Child Abduction Unit within the District Attorney's office to assist the family court in the goal of locating and recovering children. The reason the District Attorney's office has this unique role is because of the resources that we can provide to parents in a situation where their child's been abducted, that we can assist in the investigation and the recovery of children, such that if a parent is working with a family law attorney, or if they don't have an attorney, those can be barriers to them being able to locate their child. Throughout the state of California, various offices exist within the District Attorney's office where there are child abduction units. Not every DA office has one, but our county does, and we've had one since the early 90s, and we've always had at least one deputy district attorney in the unit, an investigator, and an enforcement officer.
So what does a normal day look like for an attorney in this unit?
We handle a variety of cases. It can range from an international child abduction case. You can also be dealing with a case that's here locally, where it's parents that may not have custody orders or have custody orders, essentially helping people resolve custody disputes to either prevent some type of parental abduction, all the way to the range of actively working on cases where a child has been abducted.
Okay, and most of these cases are by a non-custodial parent, not stranger abductions, correct?
Exactly. These cases, when we're talking about child abduction, I think a lot of times people think stranger abduction. That's when District Attorney's Office has a child abduction unit. It's specifically dealing with parental abduction. So if you've got a situation where one parent might take that child and the other parent's left behind, that's when our office gets involved.
Okay, and so you would appear in court and handle a certain role in the hearing process through the court system, is that correct?
I appear in the family court, so this is a very unique role for the deputy district attorney in a DA's office, because most of the other attorneys within our office go to court on criminal matters. I actually appear in the family court, And where also my role is different from a prosecutor handling a criminal case is that I don't represent either party. I don't represent the parents, and I'm there to assist the court with information that they may need to, the judge may need to be able to make an informed custody decision. So whether that be if a child is missing, what efforts we've made to locate that child, all the way to if there's some type of custody dispute or allegations from a parent about the child not being safe, our unit gets involved and I report to the court. So I do not represent either side, but give the report to the court. Because in family law situations, you've got parents that have split up, and they can be volatile situations. They're emotional situations, and oftentimes it's difficult, especially if parties are representing themselves, which a ton of people do in family court, to be able to give the information to the court. Why they may think that it's not in the best interest of their child to be with that particular parent. And if there's certain allegations, whether it be, criminal allegations or neglect, those are things that our office will get involved and look into.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to turn now to Angela, who's the enforcement officer in the unit, and she has a unique role as well. And I'd like you, Angela, to share with us a little bit about what it is that you do on a daily basis.
Hi, thank you. Normally on a daily basis in our office, I'm pretty much the first face that people see. So as they come in, they do an intake and kind of give me their issues. Some parents have orders and some parents come to us with no orders. From there, we decide what we have, and we direct them either to the court to try to get into court and to get some orders. When they do that, if they need the other person served the court documents, we tell them once they file to come back to our office, and we will locate the other parent and serve them. If they come in with issues they're having with a current court order, we will talk to them, try to interview them, get the story, see what their issues are, and then ask for the other parent's information. And we normally call that other parent and tell them the mother or father's come in with some issues and try to get their side of the story. And we try to hopefully work the situation out between the two so that everybody's following the order, or we refer them back to the court.
What does your office do when one parent violates the order that's been put into place by the court system?
So when the parent calls or comes into the office and has, if they have a court order and one parent is violating, we will try to make contact with the other parent. We hear both sides, and we will try to get that parent to comply with the court order. If they're not happy, we get them back into court. If there's no court order, and they come in and they argue over, this is my child, I don't have to let him see the child or let the mother see the child. What we try to do is, personally, I try to explain to them, you're going to go to court, you're going to have a court date. So can we try to, I will be your middleman. Can we try to work something out and get some visits going before court? Because typically when you get into court, you're going to get an order. One of my stories is I had a father come home and mother and child were gone. I said, okay, come into the office. We'll sit down, talk about it. Got all the information. I then called the mother. She basically said, he's dad. He's a great dad. But I'm done with him, which is something we hear quite often in this unit. So I said, well, dad's going to file, so you're going to go to court in about 45 days. What do you think about him seeing the child prior to court? Sure. What works? I know he works. He's got Saturdays off. So I called dad back and said, how about 8 hours on Saturday? Meet at this park, exchange at the park at this time. And Saturday night I got a call. The visit went great. And so those types of stories make me happy, and those people are happy too, because the court system is actually easy for them when they get in there, because when you're talking to a mediator or the judge, they kind of have a plan, they have a schedule now, and kind of that argument and the upset and the madness that they are when somebody's left and that relationship is ended, they've kind of gotten over that and can move forward with co-parenting.
And at the end of the day, that's the final goal, right? Is to assist these parents in becoming co-parents together for the best interest of the child.
Absolutely. Happy parents make happy children. And we also try to educate them on the family court system because, to us it's not foreign. To people that are having to move into it for the first time, it's a foreign place. So we work very closely with the Family Law Facilitator's Office. We have everybody's direct line. They're a phone call away. We also work very closely with law enforcement and training and trying to teach them what orders are, the difference between an order and an application. So when they're out in the field and trying to make judgment calls, where everybody's on the same page throughout our county.
Can you tell me, you said law enforcement, so obviously our office works closely with law enforcement, but how does law enforcement specifically play a role in the Child Abduction Unit?
They, a lot of times, will get the first call, and then I get a call. So the officers know Tiffany and I pretty well. They'll call us on our cell phone at all hours of the night, day. And because we have trained them that, we don't want to take children and put them where they're not supposed to be. So because Tiffany, our DA, works so close in the court system, we typically know a lot more about families that are having issues, custody issues, and disputes. So when the officer goes out, a lot of times if the parent knows that the other parent may be calling an officer, we will tell that parent, here's our card. Make sure the officer calls us. We know a little more, and we probably know the officer. So we will fill them in and confirm any orders and tell them, our background with dealing with the parents.
Thank you, Angela. Okay, so Tiffany, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
I think it's important for people to understand that the goal with what we do is to get these parents to, as Angela said earlier, co-parent. But ultimately, to get them to voluntarily comply with what the law is, or if they have court orders, what the orders are. Because keeping parents and keeping the children out of court is truly what's in the best interest of the children. But that can't always happen, and we recognize that. So when we're dealing with cases, if it is an abduction where we have what we call the left behind parent coming to our office for services, and we need to try and help find that child, we're going to do that. But our goal is to prevent those abductions. That's why we are such an active unit, and we get involved when there's visitation violations or there are custody disputes, because when you're getting to the point where you're filing criminal charges, it's usually the last resort. It may be the only means you have to get the children back, or that you've tried everything to get this parent to comply, but they refuse to follow the law. And that's not our goal, because when you get to the point of a criminal prosecution for parental abduction, the victim legally is the parent whose custody rights are being violated, basically the parent who's not seeing the child. But certainly the victim also is the child, that it is a form of child abuse when one parent is withholding the child from the other parent. If a court has litigated the issues and found that there's no safety concerns with that other parent, that in the end is who's going to hurt the most. So we don't want to be prosecuting parents for this. We want parents to not have to go into the court system. So we always come from the place of, can we get you all to get along for your kids' sake? And sometimes that's really impactful, and you might spend 2 hours on the phone with these people, but at the end of the day, because you listen to them, they might actually do what is in the best interest of their child, because they do want that. But sometimes, these are such emotional situations, it's hard to get to that point.
Thank you. Well, today we received some great insight as to what the Yolo County District Attorney Child Abduction Unit does and why they exist. Thank you, Angela, Tiffany, and Stephanie, for participating in this month's podcast. And I'd like to welcome listeners to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can also learn more about our office on our website at www.yoloda.org.